Hey everyone, I do apologize if any stream interruptions happen here, if any bad connections occur. But I thought I'd come on here during my lunch, and I got about, let me check. I got about 42 minutes to go before I have to clock back in. But I thought I'd give you my review of both WWE Survivor Series and of course NXT TAKEOVER War Games. Now, let's start with NXT TakeOver War Games, because even though I didn't see the first match, which was Cassius Ohno against Lars Sullivan, from what I understand it was a decent opener, and that basically was kind of hard-hitting for a bit, but then in the end Lars Sullivan just basically dominated. It's like, according to what I understood, Cassius hit him with a lot of kicks, even two spinning Cassius Ohno knockout elbows or something like that, and it still didn't floor the guy, and he basically no-sold them, and that he was able to pick up the win after he hit his finisher on Ohno. So I have to go and watch the match, but apparently it was an impressive debut. And from what I understand, this is actually the first of, I guess, many, well, not the first, but I guess the first legit homegrown star to come out of the Performance Center. He's not like, you know, he has a past in other promotions in other parts of the world or in North America. He's homegrown. He's basically a WWE guy, and it sounds like that's kind of probably play in his favor when he gets called up to the main roster. Like I said in my preview, if he's exactly what they say he is, expect him to make an appearance in the Royal Rumble, and then after Mania, expect him to be called up. Don't be surprised if that happens. Next up, of course, I'm trying to think what match came next. Trying to think. Oh yeah, we had Aleister Black and the Velveteen Dream, and this was very good. Probably a lot of people have said it's the match of the night, if not the match of the weekend. Both guys brought the A game. Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark, only a few years in, definitely seemed like he had been. Definitely showed that in a sense he'd been there a lot longer. He showed somewhat of a veteran instinct. Really showed that he has a lot of charisma, a lot of characteristicness to him, and basically he and Aleister Black just tore it up in this match. Basically both mimicked each other a little bit to get in each other's heads. Both basically showed what they could do in this matchup. They really did. And again, many people argue that this was match of the night, match of the weekend, and it's hard to debate that. And in the end, Aleister Black ends up winning when he hits his black mask. But the silver lining for the bitter victory, the silver lining for Velveteen Dream, is he got Aleister Black to say his name finally. So there we go. Next match of the night was the Fatal 4-Way for the women's NXT Women's Championship, and I have to say that this probably was one of the better women's matches they've had in quite some time. It wasn't the greatest women's NXT match, let's be honest about that, but it was one of the better ones. I had predicted Peyton Royce to be the surprise here, and there were several times that I think she was going to do it. In fact, sorry for the bad connection here. In fact, Nigel McGuinness even mentioned that through social media, she was favored, that many fans favored her to win. Many fans felt that this was her time, and it seemed like it, you know, on several occasions. It seemed like she was on, like I said, it seemed like it on several occasions. She seemed to be on the verge of becoming champion. So yeah, very, very good women's match between these four ladies. They all brought it. Kairi Sane did a insane elbow drop on both Peyton and Nikki Cross. She piled them up and she basically did both at the same time, so that was kind of cool. And then the closing moments of the match, Peyton Royce is picking up Nikki Cross, getting ready to finish her off. Ember Moon gets on top of the turnbuckle. Now, first of all, she's kind of pushed down on the turnbuckle to try to get her out of the way. I think she was pushed down by Nikki Cross or somebody. And Peyton Royce tries to take advantage, and Ember Moon has enough space to recover, and she hits an eclipse on both Nikki and Peyton, and she covers Nikki, and Ember Moon becomes the new NXT Women's Champion. Like I said, probably one of the better women's matches in NXT in quite some time, especially when it comes to multi-person matches, and really, a lot of us were feeling that they could shock us here. They could give us a moment we wouldn't expect. But no, they went with one of the favorites, and that was Ember Moon. And Ember Moon ends up becoming the NXT Women's Champion. We had a cool moment when William Regal goes in the ring. He's getting ready to present Ember with the title, but instead Asuka comes in and basically asks if she can do it, and we have a cool moment with her basically passing the torch of the NXT Women's Championship and the NXT Women's Division over to Ember by presenting her with the championship and embracing her as well, basically bringing that rivalry full circle into a very glorious end, if you will, for both ladies. Next matchup was for the NXT Championship, and this is where the shocker of the night did begin. Because a lot of people assumed Drew was going to retain the NXT title, and it looked like he was going to on several occasions, but give it to Andreas Giannomis. He brought his A game. Zelina Vega, Treya Trinidad in TNA. She really tried to get involved in this match several times. I mean, one of the moments where she tried to do her Hurricanrana on Drew like she had done on other opponents, that kind of backfired on her and everything. So, but she was able to cause a little bit of enough distraction to where in the end Almas was able to hit a DDT from the top rope, and he kind of caught Drew on the top rope and hit him with, I think, a second big DDT that enabled him to get the win. I mean, he hit his finisher and all that. That wasn't enough. So when he finally hit this DDT in the end, after, I guess, coming back from the inside, or from the outside, he was able to pin Drew and get the win. Now, apparently Drew had injured his biceps legitimately in this match. Nobody knows how bad it is right now. Some are saying that if it's not too bad, you could be looking at a 2-month leave of absence because of that. And if it's bad, you could be looking at 3 to 6 months. Because apparently the plan was, according to what the sources say, the plan apparently the whole time was for Andreas Giannomis to become champion. Now, how long he holds that championship is unknown. We don't know how long he's going to hold it. But the reason I guess Drew dropped it was apparently Drew's going to get a call up to the main roster. Apparently Drew's going to go back to the main roster very soon. And it all depends on whether or not this injury keeps him out for 2 months, 3 months, maybe 6. We don't know. But yeah, Andreas Giannomis, it was an okay match. Not the prettiest NXT championship match, but definitely a decent match. And Andreas Giannomis becomes champion. And I think it does work in NXT's favor because a lot of the guys they've had as champion have always been smaller than Drew. Drew, I think, is probably the tallest champion they've had from a statuesque way. So putting the belt on Andreas St. Almas kind of makes it more legit, more realistic for someone to go up against him and fight, and maybe have to overcome the obstacles of someone like Zelina Vega, Zelina Vega. So I think so honestly, I'll be honest with you, even though this was the shocker of the night, because I'm pretty sure it shocked a lot of people, even the people in Houston, Drew dropping the belt was probably the best idea, because you want to try to at least make whatever champion has it believable to beat. So I'm kind of cool they went with Andrea in this one, even though I initially picked Drew to go over. Now the War Games match. Now the main event was War Games. A lot of people were kind of critical at first of War Games. Well, not of the match itself, but of the way WWE was coming across with it. Because apparently WWE had decided to take two of their established cages and basically split them down the middle, to where now they just made one big cage that didn't encompass the ring, but kind of just went around it like a regular cage. But in this case, to be the WWE's interpretation of War Games. So what can I say about this match? I like the fact that who you had started off. This was amazing. One thing Triple H obviously knows is the fans want some familiarity. That Triple H knows that the fan base that comes out for TAKEOVER and the pay-per-views that follow are a hardcore wrestling fan base. And they're gonna want to see some wrestling that they're familiar with, or at least stars they're familiar with. So I kind of have to give the nod to Triple H, have to tip my hat, if you will, to him for doing that here by starting the match off with Roderick Strong, Adam Cole, and Eric Young. Basically, you had two guys, because in case you don't know this, Roderick Strong at one point had competed in TNA. So you had Roderick Strong, Eric Young that had competed in TNA, and you had Roderick Strong and Adam Cole that had competed in Ring of Honor. So hardcore fans were basically getting, in a sense, TNA versus ROH in a WWE ring and an NXT event. That's what they were getting. And these guys really brought it. Even at the beginning, they brought it, and throughout the match, they brought it. Now, when the first 5 minutes went, the first team that got let out, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, obviously to, again, entice the hardcore fans. Then the next team that got let out was the Authors of Pain. And then you had Alexander Wolf and Killian Dane as the last participants. And as soon as basically the match beyond began, they just went crazy here. They just went crazy. They brought out all the plunder. As soon as Alexander Wolf and Killian Dane came out, that's when the plunder came out with them. Wolf brought in a nightclub, a billy club, and then you had Killian Dane bringing in all other kinds of weaponry, from trash cans, candlestick, tables, you name it. It was just absolute insanity, if you will, during the match beyond's portion of War Games. It's just complete insanity. There was a spot during the match where you had basically a double on both sides of the ring. You had a double Tower of Doom powerbomb on both sides, in both rings at the same time. And Adam Cole was, because what was happening is that I think you had the Authors of Pain trying to go after Adam Cole, and they were the recipients. of the double powerbomb Tower of Doom deal. And Adam Cole, he was the last person standing until he noticed Killian Dane was looking at him. And what does he do? He ends up climbing to the top of the freaking cage. And just when you think he's gonna, perform, maybe, because there's a spot that happens in this match to where everybody is in, like, laid out or in position for something, and Adam Cole stands up on top of the cage. It makes it look like he's going to jump off or perform some kind of moonsault or something. Instead, Roderick Strong stands up, meets him, and ends up meeting him up there. And what we get is something I've never seen off a cage. So, I mean, I've seen splashes, I've seen headbutts. I've never seen this. And that is a superplex, or an avalanche superplex, off the top of the cage onto the other participants. That's what Roderick Strong did to Adam Cole. But in the end, Adam Cole was able to pick up the win. He, I believe, hit Eric Young with a kendo stick. Eric tried to get a chair to protect himself. Adam Cole ended up hitting a Shining Wizard on the chair onto Eric, and he ended up pinning Eric Young. To get the win for the Undisputed Era. So the right decision that everybody felt needed to be made was made. Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era basically went over in the first NXT WarGames. So the right decision isn't for the main event, and for the NXT WWE interpretation of WarGames was the right decision to make, the right booking decision. And in the end, like I said, the Undisputed Era went over. So now the question is, where do they go from here? A lot of projecting that Adam Cole is going to challenge Andreas Sinamis, but then the question is going to be, who is the babyface and who is the heel? That's going to be really interesting on where they go with that. So overall, NXT TakeOver WarGames I thought was good. WarGames really, along with Black and Velveteen, were the matches of the night. And a lot of people thought, well, how can WWE, top this? How can they top this with Survivor Series? Well, I'll put it this way. They tried. They tried to top this with Survivor Series. They really did. But with the exception of a few good bright spots during the night, I think a lot of people were unanimous by saying that, well, for me, it was an A- show. I thought it was okay. I thought it was good. It was A-. It wasn't A+. It wasn't an A. It wasn't an A+. It was an A-. I think they did I think WWE did the best they could to continue the momentum that NXT started the night before. I think they did the best they could. The six-man match between the Shield and the New Day really started off hot, got the crowd up and going. The crowd loved it. These guys did everything they could, pulled out every trick in the book, every move set you can think of. I mean, they just went all out. But in the end, the Shield, of course, as a lot of people predicted, and I think I even predicted it, went over. Basically, you're bringing them back together. You don't want them to lose. So I think the right decision was made by having the Shield go over. And the way they won the match, I don't think I've seen them do this in a long time. And that is a triple powerbomb off the top rope, or at least the middle rope, onto Kofi Kingston. And basically, like I said, the Shield wins the match and puts Raw up 1-0. And what was interesting about this is they had a scoreboard of how many of what brand won what match. So every time a brand won a match, they would get a point. So Raw won the first match, And then we get our first Survivor Series match, which is the women's match. And I'll say this, it was okay. It was alright. It wasn't the best women's Survivor Series match. It wasn't the best, but it was one of the better ones. Mostly because of the fact that towards the end, it was a showcase for Asuka. Why? Here's why. Asuka finally gets in the match. You know, and the women of SmackDown are trying to bring the fight to her. Okay? So Asuka gets in the match, and there's a moment in the match to where Carmella's in there. And we all knew that if anybody was going to basically try to punk Asuka out, try to embarrass her, you know, get that look from Asuka, that smile look of hers, like, you just effed up kind of deal, it was going to be Carmella, because she's basically that kind of character. She's that kind of star, that kind of superstar and character, and that's exactly what happened. Carmella ended up being the one that did the palming to Asuka's face, tried the embarrassment thing, and basically as soon as Asuka gave her that look towards her, you could tell on Carmella's face, like, she realized, oh crap, I just effed up. And I think, you know, everybody says, you know, Carmella's going to cash in soon and become champion. Well, it kind of shows you that that might happen, but from a storyline perspective, a character perspective, she's not the brightest bulb in the room. And Asuka ended up knocking her lights out with a kick, and that was it. Now, one thing some people complain about is the fact that Becky Lynch ended up being eliminated first. Okay, that was a surprise, especially by Bayley. But it was like back and forth sometimes with the stars. Becky got eliminated, Bayley got eliminated. You know, back and forth. Nia Jax ended up getting eliminated by countout. And a lot of people wonder why this is happening with Nia. What is WWE doing with Nia? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, they were just like back and forth with the eliminations. Nia went. Like I said, Bayley went. Nia went. I think Tamina was next. Well, not Tamina wasn't next. Who was it? Alicia was next. And then I think Naomi was next. You know, the eliminations went back and forth until you were down to Asuka against Tamina and Natalya. And again, this is why I talk about it was a showcase for Asuka, because she overcame the odds, got Tamina to tap out to an armbar, very wicked looking armbar, and then she was able to trap Natalya into a chicken wing, lift her up, sit her down, plant her down with a sit down plant, and then lock in the Asuka lock. And a lot of people are commenting on how Natalya's reaction was like, oh crap, I'm in trouble kind of deal. Or oh crap, this can't be happening, when Asuka started to lock her in for the submission win. So to me, they did a good job setting up Asuka for her next possible feud or next opportune moment down the line. And why do I say that? Well, before I get to that, I'm going to talk about the Usos against Sheamus and Cesaro. This was a good tag team match. Both teams brought their A game here. Both teams, like the six-man tag that started the night, really brought it to the table, really brought their A game, and did what they had to, pulled out all the tricks they could to win this match. But in the end, it was the Usos that went over Sheamus and Cesaro, and thus allowed SmackDown to get on the board. It was a good tag team match. Probably one of the better tag team matches I think the Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro, ever had. I think it's one of the better tag team matches they've had against any team in a long time. Then, I think before that, you had the Intercontinental champion against the U.S. champion, Miz against Baron Corbin. And apparently fans were behind the Miz at first, but then I will admit they did, kind of die down a little bit. They kind of were like, okay, who do we cheer for here? Some people say Corbin was like becoming the clear babyface throughout the match, but I think honestly they just started to be like, who do we really cheer for? Who do we go for? Because you had Maurice, who was at ringside in attendance, distracting him. You had the Miztourage, Dallas, and Axel trying to distract Corbin, and it worked at times. But in the end, Corbin was able to catch Miz with an end of days and get the win. So with Corbin going over Miz, it's kind of telling me they want to build the United States Championship back up, and they want to show that it doesn't matter who Corbin goes up against. And now that he has a championship, he's going to be virtually unstoppable, no matter what the odds. And he doesn't care whether you like it or you don't. So anyway, after that, after those two matches, we get the women's champion versus champion match, Alexa Bliss against Charlotte. And this was a good match. One thing the Lex man Alex said about this match, and it seems, and it might be true in some sense, it seems like to him Alexa's just not really progressing in the ring much. It's like she's been here for about 3 years, going on 4. You think she would have progressed from her time in NXT to her call up to the main roster, but apparently that's not the case. Now, everybody might recall that when Sasha was in a feud with her, that even on Twitter, and I guess from a work shoot perspective, what have you, or legit shoot perspective, Sasha basically came out and said, I think she said it on Raw Talk, Alexa Bliss doesn't really care about this business. All she cares about is this. I mean, basically, Alexa, sorry for the bad connection there. But apparently Alexa doesn't care. According to Sasha a couple months ago, during her rivalry with Alexa doesn't care about the business, doesn't care about the wrestling. All she cares about is this. And a lot of people have said that, Alexa has some good promo skills and can talk a good promo, can talk a good story, and talk up her opponent and herself. But it's not really true. But apparently, according to some people, like the Lex man, it's not really translating in the ring. She's not translating that back into her performance in the ring. So, so is that true? Well, last night, I don't know if I saw that or not. I mean, I saw basically a decent match between the two. I did see that in the end, yes, Alexa lost, as pretty much a lot of us thought she would. Alexa can bring the fight. She can bring the fight to certain opponents, but when it comes down to it, when she brings the fight to those certain opponents, in the end, she's going to end up losing. And that's what happened here with Charlotte. Yeah, there was a size difference and maybe a strength difference, but she brought the fight to Charlotte. But in the end, she ended up losing when she tapped out to the figure 8. Now, I mentioned earlier how the Women's Survivor Series elimination match was a showcase for Asuka. One thing I said in a super chat to the Lex Man last night is I said that last night they set up Asuka versus Alexa by having one win and one lose. And that being Asuka winning and Alexa losing. So you can't tell me from a story perspective that's not going to play in to that match happening probably sooner than later. So we'll have to wait and see. But to me, I feel that after last night, they've set the stage for that match to occur probably sooner than later. We'll have to wait and see. Then we had AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar, champion versus champion, Universal Champion against WWE Champion, and possibly the match of the night. and possibly, if not the match of the night, because it looked like at first Brock was dominating, it was going to be another squash, whatever, but AJ bounced back, brought it to Brock. There were moments where you thought they were going to go with AJ over Brock. 450, phenomenal forearm. AJ threw everything at Brock. Brock threw everything at AJ. But in the end, AJ goes for a second phenomenal forearm. Brock catches him, hits him with the F5. 1, 2, 3. Brock beats AJ. And again, this is a complaint a lot of people have, is why is it every time Brock faces somebody with a bigger and stronger than him, on the same level as him, or what have you, or in this case AJ, sort of smaller and not as strong as him, why do they always end up losing to one F5? Why is it they're going to look, because basically one thing a lot of people pointed out is all these people losing to Brock because of one F5 are going to look inferior when Roman ends up kicking out of more than one at WrestleMania. I'm just saying. So, yeah, you know, so yeah, in the end, you had a great match, probably the but not probably, but basically the match of the night between these two, AJ and Brock. But yeah, in the end, AJ ended up losing. Can't take anything away from what they did from this match. I think if you look at matches for the weekend, as far as WWE is concerned, your top 3 matches are right there. That being your top 5 matches, your top 3 matches would have to be Aleister Black, Velveteen Dream, would have to be War Games, Black and Dream, and now Lesnar and AJ. Those are your matches for WWE. Those are your matches of the weekend as far as WWE is concerned. But then we get to the main event, the men's elimination match. And I will agree with the Lex Man, they teased a lot of dream matches here. They really did. Cena Joe, Randy Joe, you know, Nakamura, Balor, Nakamura Angle, Nakamura Triple H. You know, just the list goes on of what they teased here. I mean, every time someone was tagged in, their opposite, in a sense, was tagged in to oppose them. And then you would get a treat. Okay, let's see what this guy can do. I mean, it was just for like about 5-10 minutes, you had basically dream match scenarios that you thought, hey, this could help really make the match better than we expect. I mean, heck, when Balor and Nakamura got in there and kind of went after each other, or kind of tied up against each other, you know what I heard? And I even pointed this on a super chat, and the Lex Man acknowledged this as well, and even Brian Zane at Wrestling Regret acknowledged this. When Balor and Nakamura went at it for a little bit, the fans were chanting this: NXT New Japan, NXT New Japan. And it seemed to go from like NXT and flow right into New Japan. Because basically these fans are telling WWE, we know who these guys are, we know where they're from, we ain't stupid. We want what we saw in those promotions or those brands here on the main roster. But besides all these dream match teases, the match apparently to a lot of people went from this to that. Why? Because you had Braun Strowman, and this was a showcase for Braun Strowman. You had Braun Strowman eliminate Nakamura, eliminate Rude, and then you had him get drove through a table by Cena, Orton, Shane, and the 2 eliminated members of SmackDown Live. You had Randy eliminate Balor. You had John eliminate Joe. So you basically had, in the end of it, towards the end, your usual staple of megastars, as if it was 2007, 2008 all over again. And not a lot of people were happy about this. Now, John did eat the pinfall, thanks to Angle and thanks to Balor. But then, like I said, Balor got eliminated after that by Randy. And then basically came down to Angle, Strowman, and Triple H against Shane McMahon. Because Randy ended up getting eliminated by Braun Strowman. And to say that again, this wasn't a showcase for Braun would be an understatement. Because the ending of the whole thing came down to this. Angle had Shane in the ankle lock, but what happens? Triple H pedigrees him, pulls Shane over him, and in that moment it makes you think, are they going to do exactly what I thought they were going to do? I predicted they were going to do. Are they going to do a Shane heel turn and show that he's been aligned with Triple H and Stephanie the whole time? It looks like they're teasing that. It looks like it's going to happen. But then what happens? Triple H ends up pedigreeing and pinning Shane and sticking it to Braun Strowman, basically saying, if anybody's going to get the victory here, it's me. Get the final victory here for our team, it's me. Because, hey, in the end, we won. Even though, you know, hey, I played you because I'm the game and all that. But, of course, this didn't sit well with Braun, because what does he do? He throttles Triple H in the corner, tells him, don't ever do this to me again, or else you'll never play this game again. And then when Triple H tries to attack him, that doesn't work. And Triple H hits and eats not only one, but two power slams by Braun Strowman to end the show. So overall, Survivor Series, despite its flaws, I think did the best they could and are deserving of an A-. A high B+, but an A-. Because they did the best they could. They tried to carry that momentum NXT TAKEOVER WARGAMES began with, or started the night before. They tried to keep that going. But I think the booking decisions in the main event and some other booking decisions throughout the night didn't really help them at all. But overall, I have to say it was a decent weekend of WWE action. Let's see if they can continue the momentum tonight on Raw and then tomorrow on SmackDown. But overall, I will say this. TAKEOVER WARGAMES, A+. Survivor Series, because of effort and doing the best they could to carry that momentum, or keep that momentum going that TAKEOVER began the night before, give them an A-. They did the best they could, even though some decisions could have been changed. So, overall, that is my review of both NXT TAKEOVER WARGAMES and WWE Survivor Series. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. Thank you all for watching live. I appreciate it. Thank you all for watching post live after it's been uploaded. I'll talk to you later. I got to get back into work. I got to at least get something to eat in my stomach real quickly before I do. Peace out.